So I want to go ahead and start with something before I get started on the presentation, because you guys know I start in my presentation with the quote, "For things to change, you must change. And for things to get better, you must get better." And I say that all the time, and I always think about this quote, but there are times in my life that this quote just really hits me square in the face. And I just have to stop and take a minute to talk about this, because you guys never know how you're going to affect someone's life and what you're going to do on your daily journeys. And so on Easter Sunday night, I took my dog out for a walk. It was about 11:30, and we were headed to bed, so I took her out for a walk. And as I walked out my building, remember, I live in Logan Circle area, 14 in the S, and so it's a busy area or whatnot. I walked out the door and took my dog out, and then I walked back the other way, and I came back to my door. And as I was coming around by my building, I noticed a young girl sitting on the sidewalk, on the little area by the sidewalk, and with her a very young small child. And the little girl had an Easter basket with her, and it had little candies or whatever in it. And I just said to the girl, I was like, "What did you get in your Easter basket?" And the little girl said, "I got candy." And she was so excited about her little Easter basket. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing. I hope you had a great Easter Sunday." And she was like, "Yes, it was fun." And I just kept walking. Didn't think anything about it, walked right on past them. And I got right to my door of my building, and I heard the other girl say to me, she said, "Excuse me, sir, excuse me, I have a question." Well, so you guys all live in DC, so I can share this and you guys will understand. We get kind of immune to people asking us questions on the street, and we sometimes just ignore them, and we're like, "Oh God, here's another one." You just keep walking. And I live right by Trader Joe's, and there's someone always asking for something by Trader Joe's. And so I really didn't want to stop and talk with her, but she came towards me, and I thought, okay, it's Easter, I'll be nice. What can I do? And she said to me, she said, "You know what? I want to apologize." She said, "You walked out of your building, and I saw you walk out." And she said, "Immediately I said to myself, well, there's another rich white man with his pretty little dog going out after probably a fantastic day with all of his rich friends and all this other stuff." And she said, "I felt like so negative towards you for some reason." And then she said, "You walked right past my daughter, and you said, in the nicest, most considerate way, wanted to know how my daughter's Easter was." And she said, "I thought, I feel awful that I judged this person before I ever met him." And I just melted right in the street. I broke down, and I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to say to this girl?" And it hit me right then. I said, "You know what? I did the exact same thing, because I didn't want to turn around and talk to you because it's Easter Sunday. I'm tired. It's 11:30 at night. I just wanted to go to bed." And I thought, here's somebody else going to beg me for something. And I was like, you know what? For things to change, we have to change. For things to change in our world, we have to change the way we think about each other. We have to think about how we view people and what we prejudge with people. And so she goes on to tell me, she says, "I thought this guy's a really nice guy, and maybe he has one little piece of advice that could help me change my life and make me a better parent, or make me a better person in society, or give me something that I might be able to do positive in this world." And I literally broke down in tears. I came home afterwards and told my boyfriend in tears, and it was a mess. And all I had was that quote. That's all I had. For things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. And I said, tomorrow morning, I want you to wake up, and I want you to tell yourself, I have to change, because I have a 3-year-old daughter that I have to take care of, and my life is not where I want it. And she said, well, my boyfriend tells me that I can't go to school and I can't get a real job because the white man's going to hold me down. And that's why I feel the way about you that I do. And now I realize I need to stop feeling that way, and I need to do something different. And so I know this is a little side from nutrition, but I can't go days without those things happening to me and putting myself in the place where those things happen. And I want you to keep that in mind, because if nothing else from this, you get that you have to change for things to change. Your life has to change for things to get better. No matter where you're at right now in this journey, in health and fitness or whatever it is, you have to change in order for things to change. And so I give you that because it's the first quote always in my presentation, and I had to get to it. So I'm going to share the presentation now, and we're going to get started on tonight's. Uh-oh. It's going to require me to do something real quickly. All right. There we go. Now I can share it. And there we go. Okay, good. You guys got me now. Perfect. All right, so there's the quote: for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you must get better. So tonight's agenda, guys, we're going to review last week, which was protein and water. I'm going to do a real quick little recap of that. I'm going to talk about the follow-up questions and the calls that I had with you guys, because I had some really good information from you guys and questions. Then tonight's topic, we're going to talk about carbohydrates, which are sugar and fiber. We're going to break them into two main categories. And then finally, we'll talk about some little homework items or housekeeping items and our questions. Now, I got to be honest with you. If you don't have a pen and paper tonight to write down, you're going to need to rewatch this webinar. There's no question about it. There's a lot of information that we're going to cover when we get to carbohydrates. And you guys will have tons of questions, I'm sure. So make sure you write some stuff down. Now, real quickly, we're going to blow through last week. We talked about proteins, that they're a necessity for every single body. We have to have them. They're 22 essential amino acids that build our muscles and give us the opportunity to repair them. Then we break them down and produce the enzymes that help our body repair itself. It's also an effective way of controlling your weight, for the reason that it helps maintain hunger and it raises your metabolism. And the higher metabolism and the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you burn. Remember the picture of me burning 2,400 calories? I was really, really thin. Well, now I burned 4,400 calories and I weigh 35 pounds more of solid muscle. And so they burn more calories, so therefore I have to eat more calories. Considering the source of protein is very important, though. Not all proteins are created equal. There are saturated fats that you have to watch out for, and those are in your meat proteins. But soybeans, nuts, and whole grains are high in protein, your lean meats and fish. And doctors recommend a combination of both animal and plant proteins are the most ideal to give you the most complete proteins. I know some of us have dietary issues and or ethical issues with animals, and so some people choose not to eat animal proteins, and that's fine. We can work around that too. Then we discussed water. Remember, our bodies are about 70% water. They're needed to maintain a healthy weight. They're essential in helping your body process the nutrients. And across the bottom of that screen, you see 8 glasses, guys. That is your recommended daily amount of 8 to 10 glasses of 8 ounces of water, or a good measure, about half your body weight in ounces. So I weigh 215 pounds. I drink at least 100 ounces of water a day. There's so many choices out there, from juice drinks and fortified waters and sports drinks and energy drinks and all kinds of teas. There's just endless amounts of liquids out there, but your body just needs plain water, period. It just needs water. The only time you really need to worry about anything additional in your water is if you're burning 800 plus calories in a class. So if you go to the Megaformer class to balance burn and you wear a heart rate monitor, then you can check how many calories you're burning. And if you're burning more than 800 calories, then you probably need some type of potassium sodium replacement. That's an electrolyte replacement. But be careful with those with high sugars, because they're not helping you at all. Remember, we talked about that. Okay, good. Good review, first and second, or last week's. Oh, that says week 1. That was a mess up. All right, people who are optimally hydrated should urinate at least every 2 hours, and it should be clear or pale yellow in color. That comes from Dr. Luigi Grattan, head nutritionist at UCLA School of Nutrition. He's a fantastic doctor. I know that's a lot, especially if you work in a clinic. I talked with several of you who work in clinics, and it's going to the bathroom every 2 hours is not ideal. I get it, but do your best and get that water amount up. All right, so the questions that I had for protein and water, great questions. The first one, protein snacks. Now I'm going to apologize because I told some of you guys that I was going to post a list of good protein snacks, and I will do that. I've had a massive issue with my website this past week, and a couple issues with another challenge. It took me out for a couple of days. But protein snacks are a big problem for everybody. What are some good options? And we talked about things like hummus and carrots. We talked about replacing Greek yogurt. Although high in protein, it's also high in sugar, but replacing that with cottage cheese with a little bit of fruit and granola. That's a great little snack. High quality protein bars. Several of you asked about protein bars. I gave you some good recommendations in your meal plans for protein bars, but look at the labels, guys. Tonight you're going to learn a little bit more about carbohydrates or sugars. It's going to make you look at your labels even more when you get these tonight. You're going to look at every label tonight that you put in your body and go, oh my gosh, are there hidden sugars in this? Because they're everywhere, okay? But a good protein bar is always great to have in your purse or in your pocket. I carry a Chrome bag over my shoulder every day wherever I go, and there is a meal replacement shake, a post-workout protein shake, and a protein bar in that bag at all times. I have no excuses no matter what happens in my day that I've got stuff like that. So have those with you so you don't get held up or get messed up through your day. I will get something posted to the group this week that has a good source of some protein snacks on you. I promise I'll do it. And if you don't see it before later this week, feel free to bug me about it and say, hey, get this posted. I'll do it. Nighttime protein options. Now, with the caveat that not everybody should eat before bed because it doesn't fit your meal plan, it's not necessarily a bad idea to have a good protein supplement right before you go to bed, especially if you've had a good workout that day and your body needs the additional protein and you can afford the extra calories. And so if you've got a good 15 grams of protein left on your meal plan that day and you can afford another 200 calories, it's a perfect opportunity to have a nice little protein drink or a protein bar or a little bit of Greek yogurt, or even take, one of my favorite ones is to take a protein powder. So the protein drink mix that Herbalife has comes in chocolate and vanilla and peanut butter. And I would take that, put it in a bowl and stir enough water in it to make it into like a paste, and I would stick that in the freezer. And about 30 minutes later, I'd have peanut butter ice cream, and it's all protein. I mean, most of us like ice cream before bed. That's not the option. Ice cream is not the plan at 11 o'clock at night. But peanut butter protein with 15 grams of protein and only 120 calories, perfect little snack before bed. And it tastes just like peanut butter ice cream. So there's a lot of ways to be able to get that into your diet, but you have to make sure that you've afforded it. Which brings me to one of my other topics. I think it's another question I have on here. And that was dealing with things like stacking your protein around your meal plan. So I had a couple of you, when I looked at your journals, that showed that you would eat like 60 grams of protein for dinner. But yet from breakfast to lunch, maybe you only had 10 or 15 grams of protein all morning up until after lunchtime. And then you're like, oh, poop, I've got to get all this protein in. So you start shoveling protein in. It's not necessarily a good idea to stick that kind of protein and that volume in your body at one time. So begin to think about backing the protein up through the day. I'd rather see your protein consumption higher from breakfast until 3 o'clock in the afternoon so that you're prepared for the gym by the time you get there. Or even if you work out in the morning, you need more protein through the earlier parts of the day so that by the time you get to dinner time, you still have 30 or 40 grams of protein left over. You can have a decent dinner and possibly a little snack before you go to bed. But waiting till dinner time and putting 60 or 80 grams of protein in your body, first off, I can't even imagine eating that much protein at one sitting, but it's just not going to be absorbed or used, and you're going to have a tummy ache before you go to bed. So just skip it for that day, work harder the next day. Don't try to shovel it in last minute. Now, water is a big problem for you guys, and I put up a little picture here. This is one of my clients sent me this. She was struggling really big time getting her water consumption in, and so she took a gallon water jug. She wrote times across it, and she fills it up every single morning, and she just drinks it. She's got her little cheering section on there. Keep going, guzzle, gulp, chug. She's got those things on there to help remind her through the day that as that water bottle sits there, it's 11 a.m., she should have this much water already out of her water bottle. And so if you need that little help, make something like this or use something on your water bottles, or maybe you've got a sippy cup or something, like this that you have. Maybe you write something on it so that you know that this is kind of a time of how much you need to use. So use that tool if you need to. Oh my gosh, coffee. Yes, I thought some of you guys were going to lynch me when I talked about coffee. Whew. But I can honestly tell you, I get it. I was a coffeeholic. I know it. I understand it. I feel you. I understand the coffee issue. I never ever said that you can't have coffee, first off. All right. I just want you to think about what you're putting in your coffee and the volume of coffee you're drinking, because coffee has caffeine, and caffeine is a drug. And so if you find yourself dependent on having to have coffee because you're dependent on the caffeine from coffee, then let's find other ways that are maybe a little healthier with other energy supplements, or not necessarily supplements, but fueling your body with the energy that it needs through healthy proteins and carbohydrates, so that 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not crashing going, oh my God, I need another cup of coffee. But having coffee isn't a problem. Just put everything, and this is going to come up again tonight. If you have coffee and you put Splenda in your coffee, Splenda better be on your tracking system, okay? Splenda does stuff to your body. It needs to be on your tracking, all right? Because all of these things that you add to coffee add some of them, most of them, add caloric value to that coffee. So if you just put coffee on your meal plan, then I'm assuming you're just drinking black coffee. And there's no real calorie problem with that. And so just be careful with coffee and think about how much you're consuming, and can you back your consumption down a little bit if you're consuming 5 or 6 or 8, or in my case, 30 cups of coffee a day at that time. So just be careful with coffee. But just if you need coffee, enjoy coffee, have coffee and love it, I'm fine with that, okay? Just don't yell at me about coffee, okay? Sorry, didn't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. You can have coffee. And then we talked a little bit about pre-workouts. I had some questions on this because pre-workout we're going to discuss in the sports nutrition section, but there was a lot of questions about potassium and electrolyte supplements after your workout. But the pre-workout question came up again, and I want to really discuss this because niacin was a challenge in these pre-workouts, and a couple of you have looked at your labels and have seen niacin in your pre-workouts, and so you were concerned about it. And one particular person had a fairly violent reaction to a pre-workout with niacin in it, and so please be careful with your pre-workouts. And that brought about some questions about what are some alternatives to using a pre-workout. Should I be doing something before I go to the gym that is pre-workout like, but maybe not using pre-workout as a supplement? Absolutely. So pre-workout, a good pre-workout is one. There's two things. One of them is a vasodilator. So caffeine is a vasodilator. What it does is it increases the blood flow through your body so you can take in more oxygen. And then the other part of it is nitric oxide, which helps the body absorb more oxygen into the bloodstream. Those are the two major components in a very good pre-workout. And so could you mimic this in other sources? Absolutely. So if you need to maybe take a little bit of caffeine source, so maybe it's a really good green tea before you go to the gym, have a little bit of green tea. And maybe that can help stimulate you enough to increase it without having to put a store-bought or a supplement, a nutritional supplement into your body. You can still use food as your source of energy. So green tea is a great solution for that. So no, not everybody has to have a pre-workout, so don't think you have to have it. It's just a good option, especially if you're doing 3 Balance Burn classes a week. And then like Melissa coming to my fit camp this weekend, doing those things, your body needs a little bit of extra. And so if you need it, use it. Just be careful with the niacin. All right, so those were our questions, the major questions I had for this week. Let's get started on tonight's topic because it's a big one. Carbohydrates get the biggest rap right now. They're the biggest mess in the nutritional world because everybody's on this no-carb diet. Low carb, no carb. I've been not doing carbs. I can't eat carbs. No sugar, no nothing. And it's honestly causing more problems than it is helping. And so tonight we're going to break these into two functions. We're going to talk about sugar and fiber. And if you look on any nutrition label at all, any nutrition label, it's going to break carbohydrates into these two main categories. That's why we break them into these. But carbohydrates are defined as any group of organic compound, including sugars, starches, cellulose, and gums. And they all serve as our major source of energy in the diets of animals. And so it's how we get our energy to be able to go to work and do workouts and all the different things. It's how our body utilizes the nutrition for energy. That is its main source, or main objective, is to use them for energy. But it comes in other forms besides just sugar. And so just keep that in mind. Now, I love the pictures to the right down here. These are some of my favorite pictures in my little database because this looks like a lot of you guys' diet. This right here could be just about every person in America got up today, and this is what they put in their body. And so when you look at carbohydrates, it's recommended that 40 to 50% of your daily calories come from carbohydrates. All right? We need a little sidestep here because I want to talk a little bit about MyFitnessPal. So last week I taught you guys protein, and everyone that's using MyFitnessPal, I told you, focus on calories and protein only. Put calories in, then set your protein using the little grid thing, and just let fat and carbohydrates do their thing for right now. That was kind of our instructions last week. I wanted you to focus on protein last week. Well, this week, now you can go into MyFitnessPal. You can look at your sliding scale under carbohydrates and move it to 40 to 50% of your diet. Okay, so leave protein and calories where they were. Move carbohydrates to 40 to 50%. I usually put them around 40 because right now we're wanting to limit some of the carbs because of sugars. And then let fat just kind of go where it's going to go. Fat will make up the additional pieces, and that's totally fine. Okay, so now you can really fix your MyFitnessPal to be balanced for everybody. But these pictures down the right, that coffee or that latte and muffin that's up there on that front, that top picture, That'll run you about 800 to 1,000 calories, okay? 800 to 1,000 calories. Most Americans will stop by a coffee shop and get a donut and coffee or a latte and muffin on any given day. I see it every single day at Metro. People shoving a muffin and coffee down their throat. 800 to 1,000 calories. That is more than half of the calories that most of you guys need in your daily consumption. So great. You've just filled your body full of fat and sugar and nothing else. That's it. That's it. You're done. You're already halfway done with your day, and you've already done nothing but put calories of fat and sugar in your body. You throw in pizza for lunch with the soda. And of course, most of you are going to go back for another latte in the middle of the afternoon. And then you have a burger and chips or burger and fries or something for dinner. And you've had over 4,000 calories. By the way, if you add up the protein in this little group right here, you're getting around 50 grams of protein solid. That's all you're getting. And that is if you have meat on that pizza. And so if you're only getting 50 grams of protein and over 4,000 calories, and most of you are in that 120 grams of protein and around 2,000 calories or 1,800 calories, or some of you guys are at 22 and 2,500 calories, your calories and your protein are completely backwards if you're using this diet on the right with these things. It's completely opposite of where our bodies really don't need to be to stay healthy. And that's the reason that we're such an overweight society of unhealthy people, okay? So it's just a function of what we're putting in our body. But do carbohydrates make me fat? Oh my gosh, I get asked this question every single day. Well, carbohydrates make me fat, so I've cut them out. First answer is carbohydrates don't make you fat. They give you energy. Carbohydrates don't make you fat, okay? They're the reason that you can have the energy to go do your work, go to the gym. But you have to understand the main types of carbohydrates to fully understand why most of them are necessary and some of them are dangerous. And when I say dangerous, I'm talking lethal dangerous, guys. You got to be careful with this. And I have a feeling in the next 5 to 10 years, the research that's going to come out about sugar and artificial sweeteners is going to floor us as a society. And it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. So we're going to first talk about sugars. Now, sugar comes in many forms. We know it as table sugar, so this is sucrose. We know it from fructose, which comes from our fruits. We know it as lactose, which comes from dairy products and milk, all types of sugars, okay? And so it's not just the sugar you sit on the table. It comes from lots of different sources. And although all sugars convert to glucose in the bloodstream, which is glucose is what our body uses as energy, although it converts all sugars to glucose, these sugars they all do something different to our bodies. Not all of them do things to our bodies that's healthy, meaning how they're absorbed and how the body consumes them. So although glucose is our main source, concerns about adding sugar, so anything that has additional sugar in it, is the empty calories. When you look at a label that has additional sugar to it, for some reason, it's just empty calories. There's no nutritional value in sugar except for energy. So why add it to it? And it lacks fiber and vitamins and minerals. It's nothing but sugar and energy. The foods that have added sugars typically are high in calorie and fats, like cakes and pastries and ice creams. Guys, look at the labels on these things. The sugar in these things is outrageous. I'm going to show you something in a minute, or just now, in a second. It's going to show you all the hidden sugars that you're not going to even believe where they come from. So the blood insulin levels is the main concern. So I told you these sugars are not created equally because they're all absorbed by the bloodstream differently, which causes our insulin levels to spike different. As the sugars absorb, some of them are slow, some of them are fast. The faster the body absorbs the sugar, the higher the insulin spike. But the higher the spike, the quicker the fall. That's our problem. If all you did was consume sucrose, which is the most burned the quickest, absorbed the quickest, and burned the quickest, you could eat a handful of sugar, and 30 minutes later, your body's craving sugar again. Because the spike has just caused your blood insulin levels to just spike and drop. Now, reading labels, look at this list, guys. This is why I'm telling you, you're either going to have to write fast or you're going to have to come back and look. This list are all of the different types of ways that the food industry allows us to report sugar. Sucrose, fructose, glucose, dextrose, maltose, lactose, invert sugar, raw sugar, turbinado sugar, brown sugar, cane sugar, rice sugar, fruit juices, confectioner sugar, maltodextrin, corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is the death of us. Honey, maple syrup, and molasses, guys. They're everywhere. They're just sugars. It's nothing but sugars. It's all sugar. Our body looks at it as sugar, and it goes right into our bloodstream, spikes our insulin levels. But yet you look at it and you go, well, it doesn't say sugar. It says high fructose corn syrup. Well, that's just corn syrup. No, it's sugar. Not only that, it's a modified sugar which your body doesn't recognize. And so be very, very careful with labels when you look at these added sugars. Now, I talked a little bit about this glycemic index, or we'll talk a minute about this, but look at the difference between natural sugars and added sugars. This is why we really have to understand these two things. So sugar content per label might look the same. So when you look at two cereals, let's look at like a kid's cereal versus a regular cereal. So let's look at like Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops for my cereal. That's what I ate as a kid. I love Fruit Loops. If you look at Fruit Loops, the label says that a Fruit Loop is made up of 3 main things, 2 of which are sugar. The other one's gluten. Okay, that's it. Gluten and 2 sources of sugar. That's it. That's all is in there. And you're going to have 25 to 35 grams of sugar per serving. Okay, so 25 to 35 grams of sugar is a lot of sugar. But if you look at Raisin Bran, Raisin Bran's a fairly healthy cereal. It's whole bran. It's good for you. It's got raisins, which are fruit. Should be really good for you. If you use a natural Raisin Bran, it's going to have 25 grams of sugar in it, but it doesn't have added sugar. The sugar comes from the raisins, and the body looks at the raisin sugar differently than it looks at sucrose or glucose or all the different added sugars than it does from that grape or that raisin. So it's a healthier choice, even though it looks like on the label your sugars are the same. So don't get confused about what the label says with sugar. The food industry is slick. They know how to get stuff past us, and they know how to confuse the heck out of us. They've done it for years. And so just be careful when you look at it. But it's really, really, really important to understand this glycemic index. And I had a question that's going to blow this particular person out of the water with this question, because you're not going to believe this. So this glycemic index shows these green ones right here. These guys are a low glycemic index. And if you look at the little lines down here on this line graph, it shows that their blood sugar spikes at a lower rate and then drops off slower. That means that our body utilizes the sugars and it drops off slower. So we don't get the craving for sugar. The insulin spike isn't there. It's healthier sugars for us. So you're talking about vegetables and fruits and bran and carrots and things like that, okay? As you move up the glycemic index, you get things like sweet potatoes and bananas and table sugar, and all the, even table sugar falls in this medium, in this moderate glycemic index, okay? And I recommend sweet potatoes all the time. Your body needs these energies, and I use sweet potato at lunchtime a lot of times because you guys are going to the gym, so your body's going to utilize that glucose when you go to the gym. So that's not a bad thing to have it there, but you just want to be careful not to put it in where you don't need it. But look at this list of these red ones, these high glycemic ones: cornflakes, honey, French fries, white bread, and one of the most amazing ones to me is a baked potato. How many of us for years had baked potato and salad for lunch because we thought it was a healthy choice? But a baked potato is a high glycemic index vegetable. And so your body just spikes the sugar and then immediately plummets right after it. And so I had someone say, well, what do you think about baked potatoes? I said, hold on and wait till you get to Tuesday night, because you're not going to believe that a baked potato is just not a good choice at all. And it's just the type of sugars that are in this particular fruit that the body recognizes as a quick energy source, and then it's gone. Now, if you're going for a 5-mile run and you need some quick energy, these are not such bad options if you know how to fuel your body properly. But on a day-to-day basis, it's not a good habit to have a baked potato with dinner every night when you've got the glycemic index of 85 sitting there right before you go to bed, okay? So keep this little list in mind. This will be here for you guys on the webinar. You can check it out afterwards. Now, so sugar substitution ideas. These are great little tips, a couple little tips. So instead of putting syrup and honey on your waffles, just trade it out for fruit and yogurt. Still get the sweet flavor. It's a great little substitution. Syrup and honey are very, very high glycemic index sugars versus your fruit and yogurt. Plus, look, there's some protein in yogurt, so you're getting a little healthier source. Sugary cereals and oatmeal, put banana slices on whole grain cereal instead of adding sugar to your cereal. Bananas are really high in sugar. In fact, they're really high in calories and sugar, but they're a better source for your sugar taste and your sugar than it would be if you just threw sugar on top of your cereal or put brown sugar on your oatmeal or something like that. Keep fresh fruits and veggies, whole grain crackers, low-fat yogurt, and cheeses on hand. These help curb that temptation for sweets. We'll talk about that in a minute and why that happens, but these things stop those cravings from needing more sugar. Your body stops craving sugar because you're putting in healthier sugars into it, healthier carbohydrates. Instead of baked goods, have a piece of fruit. Maybe dip it in a little chocolate if you need a sweet little taste. You know, a little dark chocolate isn't so awful for you. The sugar content in dark chocolate isn't so high. It's better than eating a piece of apple pie, right? Because there's so much sugar in baked goods. Freeze bananas. I do this one all the time. I freeze them. If I take them out of the freezer, they're going to be black. Just know that. They turn black in the freezer. But then when they start to cool, when they start to warm up a little bit, they get really mushy and they taste just like ice cream. So I use those a lot of times for little snacks for myself. And just simply try to think about how much sugar you're putting in stuff and take out sugars where you can. Just be more conscious about sugar and take it out where you can. Now, as you guys know, I don't have kids, but I talk about kids a lot because, oh my gosh, you know, this lady I was talking about earlier standing on my street corner up here, it was 11:30 at night on Easter Sunday, 11:30, and here's this 3-year-old sitting outside my building, and she's eating McDonald's. It's the only thing open at 11:30 at night, I'm sure, but you know, I told the mother, I said, you're feeding your child, but you're teaching your child that McDonald's is a healthy choice at 11:30 at night. You know, maybe I can help her change some of her kids' habits, but if you have kids, especially if you have younger kids, you're the one deciding what they're putting in their bodies. You're buying the food for them. You're teaching them how to eat. And so it's your responsibility to teach them healthy choices. It's estimated that over 30% of our kids are overweight or obese. This number is climbing like crazy. And it's just absurd to me. I have one client who's 13 years old and she weighs 280 pounds. Now, her mother weighs almost twice that, and they've learned how to eat together. But this is crazy that kids are 30% of them are overweight or obese, and the reason is because they're sugar addicts. They're complete sugar addicts. Everything a child has at their disposal, all the marketing, all the things that are on their level at the grocery store are nothing but sugars. And so a child's consumption, a 10-year-old child, the average consumption is 30 teaspoons of sugar a day. 30. I couldn't even find a graphic. I looked for 30 teaspoons to have it on this graphic and show you what 30 teaspoons looks like, and I couldn't find anything that had 30 teaspoons. But just imagine just take 30 teaspoons of sugar, just shovel in your mouth, and that's what the average 10-year-old is putting in their body every single day. All right? The child diabetes and hyperactivity epidemic is outrageous. I have never seen my doctor friends talk about the child diabetes. It is outrageous how many children have diabetes these days, and it's because of what we're feeding them. It's not because genetics are changing or there was something in the water back 10, 15 years ago or a vaccine that's called. This is diet related, guys. It's what we feed them. It's what we're teaching them to eat. And so I again, because I don't have children, I can't be that much of a soapbox person, but you're teaching your children how to eat when you do this. All right. We're going to move on to artificial sweeteners. It's a huge topic, and I've already had questions from you guys about it. So I want to get into artificial sweeteners. Now, the first one, we're going to break these into two, nutritive and non-nutritive sweeteners. There's a reason because nutritive sweeteners actually add calories to your food. Okay, that's why they're considered nutritive. Non-nutritive ones do not add caloric value to your food items. Okay, that's why they're considered these two different reasons, and the FDA uses them in different sources. The first nutritive sugar sweetener that we need to talk about is sugar alcohols. Now, it's important to know that sugar alcohol is not a sugar, nor is it an alcohol. It's not either one of those things. It is a chemical. It actually was discovered in a science experiment, and it resembles the structure of sugar chemically, but it converts this taste to sugar flavor. So it has this sugar flavor, but it is a chemical. It isn't sugar or alcohol. Some people think that it's a derivative from something that was added. It's not. It's chemical. But what's important to know about it is it does add calories to your food, but the calories are only on the glycemic index, on the absorption rate, are only about half of the response that regular sugars, and that's why they must break them out. You'll see on this chart right here, this 1 gram of sugar versus 3 grams of sugar alcohol. It's the reason they have to break them apart, because you have to know that although there's 3 grams of sugar alcohol, the body consumes only those at a half the rate and half the glycemic index as regular table sugar. So that's why it's separated out like that. It does have calories, therefore it must be listed. And these are additional nutritive sugars. So sorbitol, mannitol, xylitol, erythritol, isomalt, lactitol, maltitol. These are all nutritive sweeteners that are listed on your labels. But guys, I have to be honest with you. When you look at these things, they cause digestive discomfort, bloating, and diarrhea. They're chemical. They're chemicals that we're putting in our body. And so I'm going to make a little caveat here about your nutrition plans, because I've worked with thousands of people on these nutrition plans, and I've had so many people say, "Oh, you know, I'm bloated and I feel bad. And I think I'm just eating too much protein. My body can't consume this much protein. I think it's just causing me bloat." Now, that's highly possible. It's totally true. But remember, I eat between 250 and 300 grams of protein a day. And I don't have any bloat problems. I don't have any digestive discomfort problems, and I never really have. Now, my body just absorbs protein very easily, and that might be one of the reasons. And so I don't want to say that this isn't coming from protein, but I will tell you that in the years that I've been doing this and the thousands of clients that I've worked with, if I go back and say, did you make other changes in your diet because you're trying to be healthier? You know, this past couple of weeks, you've been making some other healthy choices. And so if you've been doing that, you've probably made some other choices someplace else. You've chosen to use a lower sugar product here and there. You've chosen to use something that has a nutritive or non-nutritive sweetener in it. And so now you're introducing these things into your body. And so if you go back and look at it, maybe these things are the reason you're causing bloat. And I'll tell you that because I have one client who fought with me for months about her meal program, telling me that her protein levels were just way too high. She's a CrossFitter. She needs to eat around 190 grams of protein a day, and she fought with me on it. She stopped using products. She stopped following the program. And 2 months later, she just was so frustrated. She went to her doctor, and guess what? She found out she was highly allergic to sucralose. And sucralose was one of the main main sweetener additives in the protein shake that she was drinking. She was drinking tons of it because she needed the extra protein. And so sucralose is a non-nutritive sweetener that was causing all the problems. And she went back and we found some other options, and now she's fine. She's meeting her protein levels and she's fine as long as we keep sucralose out of her diet. So check your labels. If you see these things, they may be causing some problems. Now, non-nutritive sweeteners, these are artificial sweeteners, also called sugar substitutes or alternative sweeteners. And the FDA has approved a list of these plus 2 brand new ones over the last few years. Okay, so this list has changed recently, but saccharin, aspartame, acesulfame, potassium, sucralose, neotame, these are all old, very well-known sugars, substitutes that are in the pink and the yellow and the blue and the packages that are on the tables at every restaurant. These are all artificial sweeteners. Now, these do not add calories to your diet. And the reason is they're all chemical. They're 100% chemical stuck in these that have a sweet flavor. Now, recently, the FDA has approved stevia and the monk fruit extract. And we'll talk about both of those in a minute, but those are both naturally occurring. They're not chemical. And so although they're in this artificial sweetener group, these non-nutritive sweeteners, they are natural. They're not, in natural form, but they're not chemically made. Before stevia, and I love this little point, before stevia, you guys remember the old Sweet and Lows, the little pink ones, the ones that are all bittery, that, I mean, for years, all we heard was that they caused cancers in rats, like massive cancers. Well, up until stevia was introduced, the FDA feels that saccharin is the most safest of all of these non-nutritive sweeteners because it doesn't raise the blood sugar level. It's the only one that doesn't raise blood sugar level. So they considered it to be the safest, although saccharin is a known carcinogen. I mean, rats have these huge tumors on them when exposed to it. They contain sulfonamide, so if you're allergic to sulfa drugs, these things will give you headaches and digestive issues and difficulty breathing. I'm allergic to sulfa drugs. I'm allergic to all antibiotics, and so I could never put these things in my body and never knew that until I started learning more about these sweeteners and thought, well, now I know why I get headaches when I drink like diet drinks or anything like that. These things cause me to have massive headaches. And so and skin eruptions. Who doesn't love a good skin eruption? I mean, that's a great little side effect of these things. So, you know, be careful with these things. They're all chemical. They all cause problems, and they're in everything we do. Now, I want to remove stevia and monk fruit extract from this list for right now because I want to talk about what these things do to our blood sugar levels. So other non-nutritive sweeteners have additional proven health risks. They show signs of elevating the blood sugar levels, which cause unnecessary spikes in your insulin. And so when you introduce these things into your mouth tastes sweet. It sends signals to the brain, and the brain says you're consuming sugar, and it sends out insulin into the bloodstream so that it can start absorbing this sugar. And if you don't have sugars in your body, then the insulin is just running around your bloodstream, hence the reason that we become such a diabetic country. So be careful with them because they increase the blood sugar levels and the insulin spikes. The other problem, and probably the bigger problem for us, is that when the body tastes this sweet, it expects higher calorie food. It's expecting all of this sugar. And so it's saying, oh, I'm going to have all these calories in it, but it doesn't have the calories that it's expecting. And so it sends signals back out again with these sugar cravings that lead to additional calorie consumption and sugar dependency. This is our problem, sugar dependency, ultimately weight gain. This is why kids are so sugar addict. Their bodies cannot get enough because it wants more calories and more calories and more calories. And so it just sends these sugar cravings constantly. I promise you guys, your body only craves stuff because you're not giving it good stuff. And so it's just trying to get energy. And so if you feed it good stuff, the cravings will stop. Just stop using these things and the body will stop sending out these cravings. So the take-home message is that combined with very little knowledge, I'm going to side cap this, very little knowledge because of the available research. The food industry is fighting tooth and nail all of the research that's going on right now on these programs that are trying to do research on non-nutritive sweeteners because they're trying to figure out how safe and how effective they are versus what we have to do to remove them from our diet completely. And of course, the soft drink soda industry and the food industry is just, they're just not going to have it. And so they're fighting all this research that's out there, but I promise you in the next 10 years, you're going to find out this research is going to change how we think. But because we don't have a lot of information, the FDA can't make rulings on it, and how the body handles these factors. A healthy, active lifestyle simply just removes these non-nutritive sweeteners and these sugars and limits the use of nutritive sweeteners, okay? Just cut them out. Just start thinking about it. Spend more time cutting them out and thinking about what you're putting in your body. It's just a matter of reading the labels and making some changes. Just stop using sugar as your crutch. All right. And of course, no, just cut them out altogether. All right. So that's our artificial sweeteners. Now let's go back and talk about these two new ones, these non-nutritive sweeteners that are naturally occurring, because these are really fairly good sources, but with a couple of little caveats. Now the first one, the stevia. Stevia is a plant that when extracted, it's 200 times sweeter than regular table sugar. But what the issue with stevia, it's really not the issue, it's a processing problem. And so we can't just use the whole plant. Like we can't just consume the leaf and get this from it. We have to actually extract the plant in two different forms. And so when we pull the plant apart and we get the material from it, the sweetest part of this has to be then chemically manufactured for us to be able to put it in crystal form. That's how we get it in the little packets, okay? Hence the reason that there are some questions that because now we've taken a natural product and we've had to chemically alter it in order to get it to a crystallized form and use it on our tables, that is it safe or is it not? We don't really know that answer yet. What we do know is that in its raw form, stevia is a natural product that is sweet and is safe for consumption. It is simply a plant that is a good sweetener. And so the take-home message for that one, I don't know if that's the next part, no, is use stevia, just stevia. The Truvia and all the other stevia supplement additional products, they've all been manufactured in some way. And so just stick with plain stevia. Stevia in the raw is one of the best sources of these naturally occurring non-nutritive sweeteners, okay? So just stick with that, and it's a good source. Now, monk fruit extract is brand new. It's only been around us for the last several years, but it's been used in China for nearly 1,000 years. Of course, the Asians know everything about this stuff. We should have learned many, many years ago. We should have just adopted all the medicines and everything we could from China, and we would have probably much healthier society. But monk fruit, that's that picture on the bottom. The monk fruit is an incredibly sweet plant, fruit, and they extract the nectar from this, and it's actually sold in many forms. It comes in a little bottle with a dropper in it, so it's 150 times sweeter than sucrose. No known reactions to this. It is a great option. I don't know if you can find it in most stores. I haven't seen it in most stores. You can get it online though. So if you want to try that one, that's a great source. Whole Foods may have it, but it's probably cheaper if you buy it online. All right. Both are believed to be safe and healthier than other sweeteners. So that's that on that. Okay. Next part of this is our fiber. I'm going to talk a little bit about fiber. Now, I love this. About 100 years ago, Dr. Heber actually wrote this. About 100 years ago, someone figured out how to separate the bran from the outer portion of wheat. leaving us with the starchy material to be ground into flour, and white bread was born. Yes. Unfortunately, what that did was it took away the fiber that we get from the wheat plant. And since then, our diet has just completely dropped in its source of fiber. This is a great little tip or thing right here. Now, research suggests that hunter-gatherer ancestors ate 12 pounds of plant matter a day, or nearly 100 grams of fiber. But today, Americans struggle to consume 15 grams of fiber. Now, I'm not suggesting that we need to go out and start eating 12 pounds of fiber of plant material a day. Of course, that would wreak havoc on our diet, our digestive systems. But you know, our body is designed to consume fiber to stay healthy for lots and lots and lots of reasons. But yet, our diets are so low in fiber, we struggle to get to that. It's suggested that most adult men need 35 plus grams of fiber. That's on any of you, the guys, that's on your meal plan. And for you women, 25 plus grams of fiber a day. And as your protein numbers increase, if you decide to do something different and want to take your progress to the next level, or decide to start really pushing your body to the limits, those numbers will increase as your protein numbers increase, because your body needs it to be able to digest the proteins and all the stuff that you're putting in it. And it also suggests that at the age of 60, our bodies begin to require less fiber, and so that drops between 5 and 10 grams per day as you get older. And so that might be something where you might want to keep in mind. Now, fiber is broken into two categories. Both of these are required for a healthy digestive system. One is water soluble, the other is water insoluble. Water insoluble, okay? Water soluble and water insoluble. You need both of these to have healthy fiber in your diet. Those are some good sources for soluble fiber. We'll talk about sources in just a minute, and those are your insolubles. Now notice, I like what about this two little graphics. Notice there's no rhyme or reason in these. Some are fruits, some are vegetables, some are grains, some are oats, and they fit in both categories, right? So it isn't that I just need this much grain and this much fruit. They're all across the board, because every plant matter has different sources or different types of fiber inside them. And so it's not just an easy little scale that shows you which ones are which. So we have to learn about those. Now, all these pictures, these are all great sources of fiber on the right. Notice they're all kind of colorful, fruity, and then grains. So good stuff. I think we already kind of think about that. So let's talk about water-soluble fibers. These are, they delay the amount of time it takes food to pass through the system. So they slow down the digestive system for a couple of reasons. This helps provide the feeling of fullness. So if you get hungry really quickly, or you find yourself needing to stay fuller longer because maybe you've got a longer day and you don't want to just be starving, you might want to increase your water-soluble fiber intake at that time. It also slows down the absorption of glucose. Remember, we just talked about glucose. So if we can slow down that absorption of glucose, that's a good thing. It slows down the sugar intake. It also helps, because of that, keeps the blood sugar levels more even through the day. So higher water-soluble fibers help keep our bloodstream and our blood system and our insulin levels on a more level plane. Hence, this is helpful in lowering the blood cholesterol levels, which is why oats and oat bran have been very popular. You see them, I even think Quaker Oats has that on their label. It's part of their labeling. It's a heart-healthy fiber alternative. So it's a very, very healthy source, very, very healthy additive to your diet to make sure you get these. They're found in highest concentration in things like apples, oranges, carrots, potatoes, oats, barley, and beans. Now, I know your first question, or somebody's going to send me an email. Well, you said potatoes were high glycemic index. Yes, they are high glycemic index. They're also high in fiber. So this is exactly why you have to start learning how to fuel the body and learning what you're putting in your body, so you know when to eat these things. Potatoes are not the enemy. It's just when you eat them, it can be bad for you. All right, so water-insoluble fibers. These actually speed up the transfer of food through the intestines. So one slows it down, one speeds it up. They also allows us to trap water in the system, so they're particularly good at help preventing constipation. So there's more water in the digestive system, then we don't get constipated. If you guys take some type of fiber supplement, this is a question I get a lot. They go, oh, can I just throw, you know, like a fiber from the drugstore, get a little canister of what's called fiber, and I don't use brand names, so I won't say the brand names, but if you put that in there, guys, this is only water-soluble fiber. It is only water-soluble because it's all they can put in these canisters. And if you want to do a little trick with this stuff, put it in a water bottle like this. stick it in a water bottle, and just let it sit on your counter for about 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. When you come back and you see what's in this thing, you won't put it in your body because it's like this big, thick, heavy sludge that this stuff turns into. It soaks up the liquid and turns into this big sludge. And this is what kind of helps push everything through your body, all right? Try not to use those supplements. If you're using them and you feel like they're working great, I guess that's fine, but try some other natural supplements and natural foods in the diet to help move these along first before you go to those supplements. These are found in highest concentration in vegetables, wheat bran, corn bran, rice bran, and most all whole grains, okay? So any big whole grain is really high in insoluble fibers. All right, moving on, the health benefits of a high fiber diet are numerous. The fiber keeps the intestinal tract functioning smoothly. Remember, it takes both of them to help keep everything in balance. This helps keep everything moving nice and smoothly. We'll talk about digestive health a little more next week, and we'll get a little more into that reason. Fiber not only helps prevent constipation, but it also reduces the risk of hemorrhoids. Now, I talk about poop all day long. I don't care about, doesn't bother me at all to talk about poop because, you know, if you ain't pooping, you ain't losing. So if you're not going to the bathroom, not pooping at least, you know, once or twice a day, then you're not going to be losing any weight. And so if that's the case, a lot of times people deal with hemorrhoid issues because of their constipation, and fiber is a great way to help reduce the risk of hemorrhoids. And so if you're having those constipation and hemorrhoid issues, here might be your problem. Let's see. And for those that want to lose weight, a high fiber diet is the way to go. Fruits, vegetables, and whole grains have fewer calories per bite than do foods with lots of fats and sugars. And so if you're focusing on fiber, the take-home message with this is back looking at that label where it breaks out carbohydrates into sugars and fiber. If you're focusing on fiber, it's automatically going to be lower in sugar. Okay, that's why we talk so much about fiber. If you're reading labels and you're looking for things that are high in fiber, then they're automatically going to be low in sugar. So it's a great little trade-off. I think the last one, yeah, fiber keeps food in the stomach longer to absorb water, so you feel fuller. Now here's a list of your high fiber options. Again, this will be posted on the group, so you guys will be able to come back and watch this if you don't get it. But you know, like every morning I have blackberries as my fruit option because they're really high in fiber. 7.5 grams of fiber in a blackberry because all the seeds are inside the blackberry. But I also use other things. I eat a lot of black beans. I eat a lot of lentils, and I absolutely love split peas. I don't know why. I think I grew up on them, but those are all so high in fiber. And so make these little adjustments in your diet. Add those to your diet so that you can keep that fiber number up. So again, remember your numbers. Women 25 plus grams, men 35 plus grams. And look, if you eat split peas for dinner tonight, you got half that fiber already done for the day. Pretty cool? All right, I think that's it for these. Yep. So next steps. Some of you guys still fighting with you about getting the questionnaires and DEXA scans done. We're in week 3, so this is the final call. I told Sean if you're on this call, you probably have already done everything, but I told Sean, you know, if by week 3, I think there's a couple of people who were on vacation that we're working around and things like that. I'm fine with that, but a couple of you guys just haven't done them and haven't responded, and I hate for you to pay the money to be a part of this and have all this at your fingertips and not get this. So final call on it. I have to get them done this week. Beyond that, you know, I'm not real sure when I'll get to them because we're moving on. I've got another challenge starting next week, so that I won't be able to get back to those so quickly. Most of us have scheduled 101s, and those have been amazing. I love talking to you guys one-on-one. If you haven't done that, there's still some times this week to get that done, and then I'll be doubling back in a week or 2 to visit with you again. So if you haven't done it, get on my calendar now. I've got a few open slots this week left. Make sure you're connecting on social media, MyFitnessPal. Oh, really quickly on MyFitnessPal, I also noticed that, it was brought to my attention that on the unpaid, I guess the free version of MyFitnessPal, you guys, when you share your journal with me, it automatically shares with all of your friends. And so if you don't want that to happen, I think this is a new twist in the unpaid version, because I use the paid version because I have so many people in there. But in the unpaid version, when you share your journal with friends, it opens it up to all of your friends. So if you don't want that to happen, you can actually set a password in your journal. And if you do that, then just shoot me the text with a password on it so I know how to get into your journal if you want to hide that from your friends. Keep that in mind. I did not know that until this week. And then, of course, social media. Several of you guys have connected with me on social media, and that's always helpful. I didn't put this on here, but again, this coming Saturday, I will be doing a fit camp. If you want to know about it, definitely chat with Melissa. She was there this past Saturday. We had a freaking awesome good time, great workout, great group of people. It's small, it's convenient, it's easy. It's in the middle of Logan Circle. There's dogs and people and fun stuff happening around us, and it's just a really good time. So come out Saturday morning, 9:30. If you need the invite for it, you can check my Facebook wall. It'll be on my page. And then if you add yourself to it or suggest that you're coming or RSVP that you're coming, then you're always going to be added to it and you'll get the next update. So do that if you want. Keep tracking, keep tracking, keep tracking. You guys are doing awesome with the tracking. I mean, awesome. Most of you guys are spot on, and the questions and the answers that I'm getting from you guys is just amazing. That tracking teaches you so much. You have no idea until you put it in that tracking method. So keep tracking, keep tracking, keep tracking, keep tracking. I can't stress that enough. And then on Thursday, I'll get this webinar reposted, so you guys need to check that back out again and get any of the notes that you might miss from this. Let's see. Next week, we're going to talk about the third and final macronutrient, which is fats. It's a great topic because you guys need fats, and that will lead us into digestive health and help talk about how to keep the digestive system healthy. If your digestive system isn't healthy, it's not absorbing things very effectively. So keeping it healthy, fueling it properly, and there are some really good additives to diets that we need to make sure in there so that our digestive system is working at its optimum. These are your healthy fats. I love that little happy smiley face on the belly. So a good digestive system, a happy digestive system is a healthy digestive system. And I'm pretty sure that is it for my presentation. All right, so I think that's it for now. I'm going to turn off this recording and share this. Stop the recording back here.